Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is FAUST Ruggiero. Did I say that right?
Close. Yes, Ruggiero.
Close,
You're good.
Ruggiero.
Yeah, good.
I'm absolutely notorious for pronouncing names. I do apologize. But he has written a book, the Fix Yourself Handbook, and it presents the ways to actually embrace your own life, a step-by-step program that can transform your life into one that is happy. Remember, happy is a choice. Healthy, purposeful. You find a great deal of joy in that, and content. Um, it's the interplay between physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual aptitudes. The process way of life is 52 internal processes that will help you create a state of eternal balance as one of the 4 aptitudes operate together, providing you with a pure, loving energy source that will change your life. Learning to understand and love yourself, to apply your love to others, is the enduring final process, the gift of the process of the way of life. I absolutely 100% agree with that. It is a gift. And when you realize that it is a gift, then you truly actually learn how to honor it better, don't you? Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Um, I think one of the things that kind of has skipped people's attention nowadays, especially in a world of such instant, just download an app, just upload a program, just download this program, this, that, etc., that life is a process. And it's one that we have to be willing to interact with, participate in. It isn't something you just download and it automatically happens. You've got to be willing to take the journey.
And that's true. When I started counseling many, many years ago, that's what I realized. So the next step was, okay, let's identify those processes. A lot of people come up with their programs and they try to teach them, but I think for me, what was missing was this step-by-step thing where you present the information. Now here, do these things. And if you do these things, if you're willing to put the time in,
Mhm.
you're going to get there. So the goal was to identify processes, and I put together about 52 of them that we put in 36 chapters. But every chapter says, here, do these things. These are the processes.
Mhm.
And things like, honesty and
Mhm.
and gratitude and humility and communication and all those kinds of things. And as you work the program, you get to the point where you start to feel it come alive in you. And that's the neat part, when it starts to come alive and you can feel it every day.
The coming alive is not an external feeling,
No.
it's an internal one. And I paused on the word purpose because I think when we discover what our gift is and we know how to purposefully use it in to benefit others, that is a gift to ourselves. We've stepped into purpose. We've stepped into a calling, an understanding of why we are here and what we are here to do. But some people are kind of born with that purpose. It's there in them and they're driven by it all their lives. A lot of other people are in transition, especially in this last year. They've maybe had to walk away from a life they've known. They're on pause. What's next? Well, this was the perfect time to go in and take those discoveries and go through that process and discover what your purpose is. And I think it's been that entire pause for everybody out there right now. And a lot of people are waking up to the fact, I need to do something. But the big question is, but how?
And that's the neat part. They're all looking for what I'm going to do. And go back to what you said before, the apps or whatever. We all look for what we're going to do and how we're going to feel and think by looking for what's outside of us.
Yeah.
What something outside of us is going to do. The world doesn't only operate outside in. The majority of it is inside, and then it creates outward.
Yes.
And I'm telling people, stop looking for the new normal. Stop waiting for someone to define that for you, because even if they do, you're not going to fit in it. No one
No,
does.
no. Well, let's take
Create,
away the word normal out altogether, right?
exactly, create your journey.
Hmm.
That's normal for you. Create your journey, decide how you want to be, and then be willing to work on it every day. And it's not even work. Again, once you get into it
Yeah.
and you start to see the benefits, you embrace that. That becomes the driving force, that change, that feeling that you're, what things are getting good. I'm feeling more capable. People like to call it empowered, whatever. I feel that. I feel that every day I can go out and bring myself out to the external world, and I can change that. It doesn't have to change me.
We always say we want the world to change, and kind of the universe gave me a saying 3 years ago, the universe is going to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up, change it up, and grow up. And that grow up is a double entendre. It's like we've got rather petty as human beings. And the grow up is also kind of raise your vibration to love. Love is a wonderful frequency, and you can't knowingly do any harm to anybody else when you're in that state of love. But that state of love is not just something, again, external. It has to come from within. That means you've got to learn to love yourself.
And that's what we're being taught. And that was one of the big questions. I said, I hear this all the time. I've taught it myself.
Hmm.
But what happened? People will say, okay, great, thank you. Now, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And that's where I say, that's what processes are all about. You
Hmm.
need to create a world that allows you to like it and yourself in it. Your
Yes.
love will come then.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go from confusion and conflict and not feeling good about yourself to somehow saying, I love myself and I feel good, because there's no foundation under it.
Right.
And you will lose it quickly. But when you define yourself, when you work all these steps and you get to the point that you say, well, I like my world. I like what's out there. I understand there's negative. The world's going to challenge me. I understand all that. But I have control over what's inside me. Then you start to like you. When you like you can like what's around you because you have more influence over it. Now you're into the next step where you can start loving what you're doing. You love yourself, and then you can love your environment and other people. It's
Right.
very simple. It's a simple process, but it seems complicated because when I'm teaching people this, I'm saying we got to take that external factor and put it aside. We're not going to
Mm.
cancel it, but we have to put it aside, because if you're going to continue to focus your energy there,
Yeah.
you're going to rob yourself of the energy you need to
Right.
start going inside and getting things. And that's a tall task.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's because it's old patterning, and it's always hard to change old patterning. But one of the things you said is you can't go, oh, I'm going to get to fifth gear right up to love. As if you won't sustain that love. That love isn't that etheric kumbaya. It's not
it's
that
not.
kind of love we're talking about. It's actually more of a beautiful frequency, like a beacon going out steadily, and it expands steadily, no peaks, no lows. And we need to root ourselves well. Consider we're a tree. If those roots aren't really deep and strong and connecting even with the other trees there, we're going to topple over very easily. So, our process is to make sure that that foundation is there, that it doesn't matter how tall our tree grows or how many branches we have, we are flexible in the wind and we're not going to crack and fall over. So the work you're doing is an investment re- deep down into the very root and core of you.
And I tell people, somewhere along the line, we have to feel as though we are worthy. We are worth the time it takes to do this work. And it's once you get into it and you start seeing the gains, it no longer becomes work. It is now
Yes.
a joy. You can't wait
Yeah.
to get to it every day. But I think what happens with love is that we've been sold this thing that they call love. It's a function of the heart, which is a muscle that pumps blood. It somehow is in your brain, and you go out and you connect with another person who completes you.
Mm.
I think that we're missing where love comes from.
Yeah.
For me, love, it comes from the spirit. That's where love comes. It's the
Mm.
spiritual part of us. And when we're denying all that, I always call it the hallmark way to love. Oh my God, all this emotion and those highs and lows you talk about are
Hmm.
what we are taught to experience with love.
Yes.
If we don't get the highs, we don't have love. But I
Right.
always call love is like a constant simmer. It's in the
Yeah.
background all the time.
A
It's
glow.
sort of like a program
Glow.
that runs your computer, and it just
Yeah.
keeps on going, and
Yeah.
everything comes there. Everything on the outside is going to go into there.
Yeah.
And that's what the processes do when you get good at them. Everything that comes in can't control you because they go to your processes first, and they're filtered, they're organized, and they're structured in a fashion that helps you move forward once you learn to understand them.
But it's also, going back to the tree analogy of you've got your roots there, the trunk is nice and solid. That means the branching out that you're doing is actually true and honest. It really is you. And because it's had to come from the roots all the way up to those branches, the intent is honorable. And then what you are exuding out is what other people are receiving. And you can't skip the steps because each one of those steps is a building block in everything that you're doing. And people say, well, how long is it going to take? And I always say, well, however long it takes you to participate and absorb the process. And some people have got an awful lot of old programming to undo first. But if you don't put in the time, you don't get the results.
Absolutely. And, I talk about life being a journey, and I talk about us doing just what you said, because I get that question all the time. Well, a year and a half. I said, are you going to die in a year?
Yes.
What is the destination? Why do you
Yes.
have a destination? Because we do everything we do with destinations. When
Mm-hmm.
I get there, I'll feel better. You'll feel better today if you make a commitment to
Yeah.
work with this
Yeah.
and don't back off of it. But see, the problem is for me, when I work with people, it starts with honesty.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to say, all right, and I call it brutal honesty. You've got to go in there and say, okay, I don't like this about me, and that's not good. And maybe I'm doing this thing, I lie or I manipulate or whatever I do, because you've got to get those things, that toxic stuff out of the way,
Yeah.
or it will continue to eat up all the energy that you need to move forward. And that's where people start to say, I got to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, but yeah, but you're looking at them as work.
Yeah.
But my opinion is people who aren't working with these processes and don't get on a journey that's productive, they spend a lot more energy and negative energy and
Yes.
feel worse than we who call this thing we're working feel. We have something to look forward to inside ourselves every day, and they don't.
How
And
about we
that
don't call it work, we call it development?
we do. We call it growth.
Mm.
That's what I keep calling it in the book. I keep
Yeah.
saying that's your growth. And when you get to the point that you are really feeling good about personal growth, that becomes your creativity. It becomes your
Yes.
passion. And every day you get up and you say, well, I'm going to do this today and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to work on this. And you feel good because you know that you have the capability to do it and it does yield results. Small results, because that's what we want. If they're too big, we'll lose them
Yeah.
again.
Again, where is the branch that's holding it up?
Right.
We're in the year of the ox, the Chinese year of the ox, which is, slow and steady and sturdy. And, like this is the perfect time to kind of really start rooting, because this isn't a year where it's fire this and that and all extremes. It is about steady as you go. You'll get this as steady as you go. And if we could get into that mindset right now, is that I know a lot of people think, oh, I've got to make up for last year, I lost a whole year because of COVID, I've got to do something this year. You're doing something, but you don't have to do it at extreme rates. Just steady as you go.
I tell people that because I get that too. I've got to make up, and I say, wait a minute. Did your life did somehow did it was there no life in the past year? You've been doing things,
Yes.
but you don't yet see them as moving forward and as growth, because before you plant the tree, you've got to go clear the ground and pull
Yeah.
the rocks out and do all those things. So you've been doing that. You've gone introspective.
Hmm.
You got uncomfortable before you start the growth process. You're going to get uncomfortable. That's okay. And
Yeah.
I teach people to understand that there's a comfort zone in that uncomfortable part. The mind
Yeah.
will embrace that. It will change. It possesses the ability to transform itself, but we have to give it a chance, and we've got to clear the rubbish out.
Yeah.
And that's what you did the last year. It slowed
Yeah.
everyone down, and we had to stay home.
Hmm.
We couldn't do anything from outside anymore, which I thought was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Because my people coming in now for counseling are saying, I learned this about me and this, and I
Mm.
thought I couldn't do that, and I did it. I don't know that but now it's going to open up. And I said, well, it's going to open up. Keep your pace slow. Go
Yes.
out,
Yes.
but go slow. Keep going slow, because our brains were never meant to experience huge changes, whether they're good or bad. That's trauma, and that's
Yeah.
what people don't understand.
Hmm.
That our bodies, our minds, our hearts, our souls were never meant for explosions, for these mega changes. They're
Mm.
meant to go slow and transition into those things, but not to explode into those.
Well, the thing is about there's always going to be an explosion around us. And if we're steady and sure, we can navigate through it. If we're the same explosion, where it's not going to get anybody anywhere. There's something you said that I know that I think is the hardest thing for people is to realize actually you've been lying to yourself. You've been living an illusional life and immediately think that's an attack on them. No, you've just been living by society's expectations of who you should be, where you should be, why you should be, what you should be doing. And, throw that all away because you've been living life robotically and you're unhappy and it's eating at you from the inside out. And you say, but I'm successful, I'm making the six figures, I'm got the 2.2 kids, I've got this, I got that. Why am I unhappy? Because you're not living your truth. You're living an illusionment of some society's expectation, and that's a hard one for people to look at. And sometimes it kind of takes the cosmic 2x4 for the, to flatten them, for them to have to grow up from the ground up again. But if you can face that you've been lying to yourself, don't beat yourself up about it. You've just fallen into that societal wave, but you can dictate your own wave now through your own
Absolutely.
process.
The first chapter in my book is called Taking Life Off Autopilot, I call it.
Hmm.
And it's exactly what you just said. What's trending is what the world is creating for you, because the world, is controlled by certain people who
Yeah,
want
yeah.
you to fit in a certain way.
Little
You know, it's
puppets.
it's politics, it's
Yes.
big business, it's media.
Yeah.
Those entities really control things, and the more you fit into that, the more profitable it is for them. But it's not doing anything for you. And then you get down the road and you realize, I don't know where I am, because I'm a robot.
Yeah.
I'm life is on autopilot. I get up and I do the same things every day. I think the same way as everyone else. I don't dare express my opinion because it will be attacked. So I just, for me, it's much comfortable I had to stop many years. I had to stop and say, okay, where am I?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm caught up in this too. I have to stop that, get honest with myself. And once I did that, there's that groundwork we're talking about. Now I'm
Hmm.
planting that tree that's going to have that trunk that's going to hold everything up that
Hmm.
I want to do. And I'm comfortable there. But you got to take life off autopilot first.
Which means throw away everything you've known and just allow yourself to be a blank slate.
It's the easiest way.
Mm.
It's a scary way for people,
Yeah.
because they say, well, then who am I? I said, you really think that the only person that you are is what the outside world
Yes.
gave you? There's been a human in there the whole time. So when you throw that world out, you'll come back to the human.
Yes.
It'll have some rough spots and some things that don't feel complete, but isn't that great? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now you get to complete them your way.
Right. Well, this, network is called self-discovery because I don't care who you are, where you are, or why you are, we're all on a journey of self-discovery. And as you said, there is no destination. What you discover about yourself this year, and then you go and do X, Y, and Z because of it. From that will then become another discovery. And that's what it's about, because that's how we're really designed. We're designed as explorers of always discovering and creating and what is possible. And if we could step into that kind of mindset without dictation, just in that wonderment and allow, then we can actually see how utterly awesome and creative we really are and how we've been suppressing ourselves for so long.
You talk about creativity, and again, another one of the processes I use, and 9 out of 10 people will say, well, I'm not a creative person. And I
Hmm.
said, no, you cannot live without
Right.
being a creative person.
Yeah.
Your mind must create for you to move on. And I just tell them, stop trying to define this huge thing that's going to make you look wonderful in front of other people,
Yeah.
because now you're creative in some mega way. Be creative in everything you do
Yeah.
in your life. I don't care if you're taking the garbage out. Be creative. Sing, dance on your way out. I don't care what you do, but have fun and be creative in everything you do. That comes alive in you. Although it's one of the later processes, it's interesting as you get even to the later ones, they go back and get the initial ones, and they bring them forward again.
Yeah.
Get creative, get passionate about that, and and process it all with growth. you get up every day and you say, gee, I can do these things. And not only can I do these things I didn't think I could do, I can create new things to do that are all about me and the way I want to live life. Talk about being an individual who feels powerful. That's the way it works.
We say you do have to be selfish in your self-recovery. Right now, a lot of people, oh, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be deemed that it's all about me, myself, and I. Well, it goes back to the oxygenate yourself. You're whatever you're giving out. If you're depleted, what are you giving? Right. So the more abundant and full and happy and joyous and purposeful you are, the more you are going to benefit other people around you. So you do initially have to be selfish in order to be generous. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of a rephrasing or a relooking at the wording, isn't it?
Yes, what you do, what I do, what I'm teaching people is to be defined inside. You want to go out
Mhm.
and be able to deal with that outside world and deal with other people, love other people. Be defined. Those processes come in and they define who you are, so that regardless of what comes in from the outside, it comes to a defined person who is willing to take it in and then knows what to do with it. And that's what we saw with this virus. Those who were
Yeah,
strong really weren't affected by this that much.
right.
I just kept on doing what I was doing. Okay, I didn't go out as much. I had to put a
Yep.
mask on.
Mhm.
Some family functions changed, but my God, that it wasn't horrible because we did what we normally do in our home, and that's you create a strong person, you create a strong home, and then everything it comes in, it's filtered to that. But yeah, and I'd love to see some of the folks I haven't seen in a while, and
Yes,
eventually
yes,
I will. But what I said is, okay, not seeing them, I'm not putting my energy there. I actually have more time to put my energy into me.
yes.
And I just said, I'll take a year off from society, and I'll make the world stronger inside. I saw it as a plus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My life hasn't changed too much other because I work online anyway. I get to meet people. In fact, I was busier, with all the pivots and the
Terrific.
changes that we needed to have. And the thing is, we had a storm to weather. And the stronger you are on the inside, the more content you are to be still in in the storm. The people that are used to chasing life, they've got caught up in the whirlwind, not only of your politics, but of the COVID and then the hysteria around it. And they're caught up in that whirlwind, not knowing how to get out because they haven't got any core strength to ground them. So it is essential that you get that kind of grounding core in there. Otherwise, it's very easy for you to get swept up in the latest hysteria.
Well, as I say, the mind is going to create and it's going to define. It's really the locus of effect, so to speak.
Mm,
It's where you've decided to apply your energy. So if your energy is to grow, then you will put your energy there. You will look to self-define. But if everything is outside of you, then you're going to try to define it there. And that's going to resist
right,
definition because it has nothing to do with
right,
you. And other people aren't going to let you define them. The world doesn't do that. That goes on its own pace. So you're wasting a lot of time. But and that's what happened. Uh, Virus hits, and people are saying, "I can't define my outside world." No, because you can't go there.
right,
But if you can define the inside world, it automatically defines the outside world. That's the other process they don't understand. If you're defined inside, if you are strong inside, everything else becomes defined. You don't
yes,
wait for the world to do it. And in fact, when it does it, you will sit back and say, let me think about that for a moment. I'm not so sure because the mind has an automatic slowdown
yes.
process when you get strong inside. It's one of
Filters,
those.
filters out.
It says, "Oh, wait a minute. Let me look at that.
Yeah,
Let me think about
yeah,
that." And that's normal. It's what we should be doing. But this quick fix, let me jump on that. If it looks good, feels good. I'm going to have a great time with it. It's got a very short shelf life, and it doesn't do anything to define. It puts you in a position to be dependent on that
mhm,
outside. That's very that's a very difficult way to live life.
yeah.
It's very fragile.
Going to turn it back to the beginning again of like, I know a lot of people, um, okay, if I do this work on myself, what about my spouse? What about my family? What about my friends? At that point, you have to go, no, only what about you? This is your journey. You're living it for you. And the extension of you in whatever your glory is will benefit others. If others walk away from you, It's just that they're on a different journey to you. Maybe they're on a different level to where you're at. Don't take it personally, right?
No,
Some people are
no.
going to leave and they're meant to be gone. Some people are maybe only going to leave temporarily until one day you catch up with each other. Don't expect someone to take the same journey with you because you're married to them, right? This is your journey, and what will be, but you have to be yourself and as strong as you can be. So don't worry about the judgment or the call of anyone else around you. That's another one you have to shut off.
And absolutely, and as you're strong inside, I really believe that the need to bring other people on board on what you're doing kind of dissipates because
Yeah,
there's no the dependence goes down. You're not focusing on that outside world. They will see you as stronger, calmer, more enjoying your world, and they may look at that and maybe they might say, I don't want that, but
right,
more often than not, they'll look at that and say, gee, you look a lot happier. And what I'm finding with my book is that couples are actually taking it and reading a chapter at a time, and then they're applying it to their
right.
marriages and to their relationships. So when I hear that kind of thing, that's the way it's supposed to be. And you're right. Toxic people are going to go, or people who just aren't on the same page, don't want
Right.
to do what we're doing. They will go. But if you stay with them and sacrifice who you are, you'll be
Yeah.
miserable in the
And
end.
then you're going to make everybody else miserable
And
around
then
you.
it just
Right?
it's right.
Misery
It
loves
keeps on
company.
going.
Yes. And then, you've got a huge sewage pit of misery there that nobody knows how to get out of, right? So
Exactly,
don't get sucked
exactly.
in, right? That's the important thing. A big word, which I think maybe is not something that we are so embracive with, but we should be, is gratitude. We're, as a society, kind of always looking at what we haven't got instead of looking what we do have. And, at the beginning of COVID, I would say, are the bombs being dropped on your house? Are there Nazis at your door? Are people, is there starvation because there's no food? And there was a note to all of that. And there's you've been asked to stay at home, a luxury. A luxury to stay in your own
Got
habitat,
it.
in your own sanctuary, having some time for you or your family. Look at the gifts. Stop looking at what you've given up.
I do a chapter in the book on gratitude. And I talk about two kinds of gratitude. I've been teaching this for years. One I call retroactive gratitude. It usually, something happens, we're thankful for it. We
Mhm.
won something, we get it. Oh my God, I feel
Mhm.
great. That's not gratitude. You're thankful. The next concept I talk about is what I call proactive global gratitude. It's in us all the time. It never turns off. It does not need grandiose things to feel good.
Mhm.
It's grateful for the smallest of things, and it's always operating. That's where I think we want to be. We want to be people who are grateful for every moment of our life, not just the things we get. In fact, for me, when I'm most grateful is when I can do something for someone else.
Yes.
That's where, and when you get to that point where there's a selfish part of you, because you talked about being selfish, that's just to get yourself going and get healthy and grow.
Mm.
Then you get selfless again and you
Yes.
start giving it back.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've arrived. When you're a giver, when you're in service of other people.
Right.
Um,
I'm a big one on that. And the thing is, when you're giving to someone that's benefiting, you're receiving.
always,
What,
always.
what's in it for me? That knowingness that you have made a difference in someone's life, however big, however small, but that you've done something to either bring a smile to someone or really help somebody out, that gratitude that they're in, and they don't have to say, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just knowing you've made a difference is what you're receiving back. And it's a wonderful feeling.
It's that self definition to define myself as a person who gives, and that in and of itself is enough for me, versus I give and someone says thank you or gives back. Then the payback comes from what they gave me.
Right,
My spirit got nothing from that. That
right.
doesn't go to my spirit. That goes to my ego.
Yeah,
So what comes to the spirit? Well, that is what I bring to it, what I create there. Those folks are not going to bring something to my spirit. Again, my spirit's going to filter everything out. It's not. It doesn't want external things. It doesn't want thank yous, because the problem with that, I think, is that then we expect a thank you. And expectations are just horrible things in our lives. We don't know
Yes.
how to simply go through every day and just be grateful and just live in our moments and maximize all the good things that are there. We set up expectations and we wait for those things to come, and when they don't, then we're disappointed, then we feel that someone let us down, and that should never happen.
It's actually, I mean, it's also the receiving of a compliment. I know for me for a long time, it was like at first I didn't trust it. And then
Hmm.
it's like, did I deserve it? And then it's, well, what do I do with it? How do I react to it? You know, instead of just receiving. This is somebody's gift to me. Thank you. Receiving, I will be gifting to somebody else. And that's the way it goes, right?
And if we all do it, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, most certainly. Let's go to purpose. I'm a big one on meaningful purpose, because I all think that we have a beautiful instrument to play in our lives, and when we play it, we find an orchestra in which to play it in. But that purpose, it becomes our calling. This is the reason I'm here. This is what I'm here to do. I love it. I'm committed to it. It brings me such joy, and I love the reaction that it helps other people. But we don't always know what our purpose is. And you can't just go in the beginning and go, well, what is my purpose? That will reveal itself on your journey. And when it does hit you, you will know, because that commitment to it just suddenly really takes root, doesn't it?
It does, and sometimes that happens a little early in our lives. Some
Mm.
people are born into some
Yep.
things, where we have a tool or a skill that the Lord blessed us with from the beginning. For me, it's a listening. I love to listen to people, and that as I developed that, then it came in. Of course, as you listen, you learn, and as you learn, then you help, and the reciprocity never stops. And as I've gone through life, I kept redefining and redefining. And the one thing I think I feel good about myself is that I haven't lost the gift of studenthood. Here I am,
Mhm.
40 years counseling people. I'm the guy they come to, but I've always kept it humble, because that's another one of those processes to
Right.
keep humility in your life. If you can keep humility in your life, that opens the door for wisdom, and that opens the door to keep you learning, and it just keeps on going. The knowledge keeps on increasing, and you know what to do with it. But if you always turn it into service of someone else, again, more comes back, and that
Yeah.
the process never stops. You're
No.
back and forth with giving and learning, and receiving all the time.
Yeah. So perpetual motion, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
I'm a very spiritual person of no particular dominion. I call it the knowingness. I'll know what I need to know when I need to know it. And for me, it is the divine speaks to my soul in truth. It gives it to my heart in purpose. My spirit goes into action, and my mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And I have been a counselor since I was a child, just knowing what somebody needed to know at that time. Did I understand it? No. I had no idea what I was really telling them. It was just that wisdom came through me through my open heart. And it didn't come from my mind because my mind was too young to understand it. But that is also another beautiful gift that you can step into. That's the alignment with your spirit, with your God. And when that is your wisdom. Here is knowledge. The noggin is knowledge. And we very often, if we get caught up in a head, we'd have no idea what to do with this knowledge. It's just perpetual. But when you allow the divine of the heart and the soul's intellect to come to the equation, you feel the knowledge. You know which knowledge is relevant at the time, and you're not chasing things around like a hamster on a wheel. And it's just that sense of, I just know. It's the truth. It's the divine truth.
And that's what I tell people. You work these processes long enough, you think you get powerful. That's the first downfall.
Hmm.
You're going to have the knowledge, and it's going to betray you because your head's going to work with it.
Oh, yeah.
Then if your humility takes over, you come back and you have all that knowledge, and you say, okay, let me keep learning, let me be humble
Hmm.
about it. Again, it opens the door to wisdom,
Yes.
and that's when you can start balancing things out. Because I keep telling people, we're physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual beings. We're
Yes.
not getting away from that.
No.
And the pinnacle is when you get to the point that faith is in the picture, and you understand how to let something that is what you think is undefined come into you. and you're strong enough at that point to say, let me filter something, let me look at what I'm going to look at here, and it changes everything,
Yeah.
because the mind is open, the heart is open, the soul is open to something that is defined, is undefined, therefore limitless. and
Yes.
and our brains are able to embrace that concept. And I get a little concerned with the feel the folks that feel they're so intelligent that they don't need the spirit. Uh, that
Mm.
then you've taken one wheel off the cart
Right.
in my mind.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying is you're in knowledge, you're not in wisdom.
Right.
Because, the heart and the soul cannot lie to us. And, the soul cannot speak for a closed heart. So that open heart already is filtering out.
Right.
Because when you do things from a heart, intent, and that's where the wisdom comes in of how to use the knowledge. If you're just stuck in knowledge and you've literally severed your head from the rest of your senses, right? You're just never going to get the answers you want because you're not feeling them. You're not feeling the heart. You're not opening up the channels to your spirit, and you just that wisdom has nowhere to go because you've shut everything off.
I've heard, and I'm sure you have, I've heard this saying for decades: knowledge is power. And I look at that and I laugh.
Mm.
Knowledge is the accumulation of facts.
Yes.
The understanding of what to do with knowledge and its proper application creates power.
Yeah.
And what you just said is how we get there.
Yeah.
If we can't do that, if we can't bring it in to an open heart, into a humble mind that says,
Yeah.
let me listen, let me incorporate all these things,
Mm.
and come from this place and that place, and maybe I didn't listen to before. If we can't do that, then all we have are the accumulation of facts, and then we're trying to apply fragmented pieces
Yeah.
of information to somehow create a greater whole. It will never occur.
No. And let's look at the word power. It's
Okay.
got a bad rap right now because we're looking at the people, quote, in power and how much they've abused it. And a lot of people that step into power become abusive with it. And so there's people don't like really look, I don't want to be that kind of powerful. But you look at empowering yourself. The empowering is fortifying yourself where you can empower others. It's not about, you know, Superman or Superwoman. It's about you have to understand power is a responsibility. And you've got to be extremely responsible with it and how you use it because it is such a easy pivot into abusing it.
Often I tell people power is weakness,
Mm.
because if it gets away from you, it
Yeah.
will eventually betray you. The old films we'd see when you'd have the martial art the people from the East, and they would learn how to do all these
Yes.
physical moves. But then they would say, their sensei would say, now is the wisdom and the humility to never use that power.
Yes.
And if you understand that concept, to have power and never be willing to use it, it is an absolute last resort.
Hmm.
Then what they were doing is they were creating the balance in people.
Yeah.
Some people called it nirvana. I like to call it balance. And it's just taking all the attributes inside you and allow them the luxury of working together.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
do that, if you're willing to do that, life changes, because if something comes in and it wants to go to your ego, well, then your humility comes and says, no, no, that's not a good idea. Or something says, well, that's a good idea and it feels powerful. I can go out and do that. And no, maybe not. Let's take a step back. And then your heart might, your soul might say, well, that's going to affect other people. And, let's present this in a warmer fashion, more loving. So we get to do we have all these options about the
Yes.
way we're going to conduct our lives that we didn't have before. And power takes all those options away, because there's one way, it's straightforward. Then you pick up the pieces later.
Yeah.
And people are comfortable doing that.
Right. Talking about comfortable, I have a cat nagging to come in. Hold on. And she'll be sitting out there meowing away until she's let in. Hello. Um, I think what people don't actually understand is how empowering simply to love is. If you want to talk about power, love is power. If it's done not in the I own you power, love, I control you, but in that honesty of giving of self with love, with purpose, I think that is the most empowering thing you could ever have in your life. And it is also that most exquisite alignment with whatever your faith is, but also the wonderful connection to the roots here on the earth. So, it's not the kumbaya, it's the strength of love, isn't it?
It is. In my program, what I call pure love, which is what you're talking about, is the final uh, achievement of the program. And the reason it is so powerful is because we've had to work all the other processes to get there. So we've gotten strong. We're not distracted. Love is not power over someone else or dependence on someone else or completion from someone else. It is the byproduct of all of these things coming together. And it simply exists. Again, it comes from the spiritual part of us. The spiritual part cannot, under any circumstances, benefit from anything worldly.
No.
So the love that's why I call it pure love. It's
Mm.
spiritual love, really, is what it
Yes.
is. And so when we love in all these other fashions, there's expectations and there's need and there's dependence and there's payback and there's all these things that we throw into it that the soul of a person that has no need for. So love on that level is wonderful. And when you find someone, you will then say, well, are they loving in the same way? If they are, you may take them aboard. If they're not, you
Yeah.
may say, well, this is nice and I love you, but not the way you're not going to come in close on that because you don't do it the way I do it. And I'm not going to contaminate what I've built. So pure love is again from the soul, but it is powerful because it's fortified by every other process,
Yeah.
and that's what creates it.
It has the foundation, it has the strength, it has the ability to grow, it
Yeah,
has the ability to branch out, to weather the storms. It is that core, that life force, that blood, that oxygen that runs through everything, that source of energy. Everything is energy, isn't it?
it
Absolutely
is.
everything. And
And,
what we feed is what's going to grow.
and I again another part of that I talk about in the book is energy management.
Hmm.
We talk about time management so much, and that's great. We need that, but energy management is just what you said. Wherever we put energy, that's what's going to grow.
Yeah,
And you can feed the worldly part of you, and then that's what will be growing out there, but you have no control over it. If
right.
you're willing to take that energy and bring it to yourself, and I mean, I say to myself, we're selfish in crazy ways. I want to buy that thing and I want to have that and give me that, but we're not selfish to say, let me push all that out and let me grow. Let me
Yeah,
nurture this part of me, because when I get to the point that I'm growing through this, everything's going to be in balance, and then I'm not going to need all those things I thought I
right.
needed.
You notice I use the analogy of trees a lot, but you look at a forest and how strong it is. And in that forest, multiple different types of trees, multiple different lengths of growth, young, old, broken down, and what grows out of it. And every single one of those trees, it's their own individual growth that makes up the forest, but it's supported by the core roots, right? So the core roots not only to the earth, but also to the vibration, to the energy, the matrix of each other. And so those trees are going to grow as abundant as what's surrounding. We're asking people to invest in this soul journey, which is SOLE and SOUL. This is a journey that you have got to impart for you, but to understand being around the right energy, the right people around you is just going to help you grow exponentially.
Absolutely. All the distractions, again, they just suck up the energy. They take
Yeah.
it. It's like a lightning rod. It just takes the energy out of you. And we're, and, I, I'd never consider myself a selfish person, but a self-full as a person
Yeah.
that I know that I have to keep this person in order, or I can't do anything else. Other people will tear me down.
Yeah.
They'll distract me. They'll bring my energy over there, or I
Mhm.
will. I will choose to invest it in something that really has no meaning. So you're right. You're going to keep those roots nourished. They're going to supply everything that the tree needs.
Yeah.
The branches are what are your creation. That's what everyone sees and what you see and what you get to feel good about. That's really what we do all this for. But you're
Right.
right. That foundation. My last chapter of the book is called Good Housekeeping, and
Mm.
and 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 I say, great, you've made all these changes, but the world's coming back in. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yes.
What I call them, the people that envy and are going to come. They're the boundary thieves. They're coming in. All
Yes.
these people are going to come in. So you're going to consistently be cleaning out.
Yeah.
But you've done it once. You can do it over and over again. It's not that difficult. It's just identifying it, knowing it's there, and saying no, thank you. I'm gonna move that out. It's a process that never stops.
But you
And
do get to a level, though, where you're on such a vibration that most of those people aren't even going to come knocking.
they know better. There's
Yeah.
once the
It's just
it's
you're
boundary
repelling
and
them.
boundary setting and boundary
Yeah.
defense. And once
Yeah.
they realize that, you know what, if I knock, they're not answering, or they're going to say, please leave. Why? I'll go bother someone else. The
Yeah.
bully always goes to the person he gets the reaction from.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's actually a piece of advice my mum used to give to me, because I was bullied a lot at school, and she would say, just listen to them, blank face on your look, and when they finished, turn around and say, I'm sorry, were you talking to me? I didn't hear you. I wasn't feeding them. It didn't matter what was going on inside of me,
That's
but
right.
I wasn't feeding them. You go walk away and lick your wounds. But um, that's what media does so well. It loves to feed fear and hysteria. That's what politics is all about, that manipulation through fear and control. Somewhere along the line, you've got to decide to be, I'm not going to be part of the matrix. I'm going to take, is it the red pill or the blue pill? you know,
Exactly.
and be that individual and make my own choices, choose to live positively on my own terms, with my own core, my own meaningful purpose. And then you realize this, how much more you have to give to the world and how much more the world is giving back to you.
And that's exactly the way it works. So every day, for me, I get up every day and I know basically what my plan is, but I get up and I start my day with positive energy. I don't say, oh, wow, I like to go back to bed. No, let's go. What's next?
Mhm.
And I kind of hit the ground with my feet going. And then it's every second of the day, I just continue to embrace whatever comes, no expectations. And then everything looks like a gift.
Yes.
All the little things look like a gift. I'm happy when I got in the car and drove to the office. I'm happy I'm here. I can't wait till I see my first person. It's those types of things, and that's just, if you can do that, it changes the way life moves.
It's being engaged with your own life. I mean, we've been so taught that all our happiness is on the outside and you have to buy it. Consumerism, that's the only way it's going to make you happy. That we haven't been taught or encouraged that the happiness lies inside and being engaged with yourself. No, it's not narcissistic. Narcissistic is somebody who wants everything for themselves and anybody else's expense. It's completely opposite to that. It's being enriched and abundant yourself so your cup can runneth over. And
And,
it's a beautiful place to be, but you have, the people that I interview in here, that would say 95% of the people have gone through something in life that's really been horrific or extremely difficult, a massive change. And they've discovered their strength, their courage, their abilities, their purpose. And now, despite what they've gone through, and for some people, I won't blame them if they cashed out because it really was that bad, they are now in service of other people as an inspiration that begets an invitation. So it doesn't matter where you're at right now. I promise you, you can get through it and become the person you are meant to be that will inspire others.
every many other people have done it.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and the thing I tell people is, look how hard you've worked to become this worldly person,
Hmm.
and you've achieved it. If you work that hard, your mind, just like it embraced that, will embrace
Yes.
this. If you get away from quick payoff,
Yeah.
that's the key.
Yeah.
Get away from all that stuff, and you're going to find a world that's open and waiting for you. And you're right. Anyone can do it. It's
Yeah.
there. We all did it. We all had our moment or two
Yes.
that we said, wow, the world is crashing down. But, through that, we
Hmm.
built ourselves back up, and we know we can do that.
Yes.
That's what we want.
We underestimate ourselves as a human race.
Mhm.
We're flawsome. We really are. It's everybody's looking for that perfection. You will never find it. You will always let yourself down. and let others down because of it, because it's in our imperfection, just like a flaw in a diamond, that makes us beautiful. And so it's not about going through the process to become perfect or I'm the best at it. It's about being the best of yourself, honestly, authentically, truthfully, divinely, that connection where you literally are glowing from the inside out.
You talk about analogies, and one that I've used a lot is, you can turn on the television or whatever, and you see the pretty people, the models that are all done
Yes,
up, and you see no
flaws.
lines on their faces, and that's supposed to be perfect, and we all want that. And I say, no, those lines are life's definition. And
Yes.
that's what we're looking for, to define ourselves, not to remove definition.
Right.
And we're priming ourselves to be, I don't know, 30, 40 years down the road, to be those people all who are all dressed in white, and we're all, we take the pill in the morning, and the guy with the big eye is watching us,
Yes.
because we're allowing everything from the outside to come in. Some of us have to finally say, enough.
Enough.
That's not necessary. We don't need to be bland. We don't need to be like everyone else. We were born to be one image, one perfect image in here. There's no one else in the world like me.
No,
You.
no.
And our gift back is to define that speciality, that special part of us, and go unleash it on the world with all the love we can. That's the final goal, and that's why this selfish part isn't selfish,
No.
because its agenda, its final move, is to turn it back with love to the rest of the world. That's why it can't be selfish.
No. No. And, as you said, you don't go from, disillusionment and insecurity and self-doubt and confusion into love. It is something you work your way up to, but you can still have a love of life. Oh, I love doing this. I love this. The more that you kind of participate even on those other levels of love, you love a certain dish at a certain restaurant, you're going to eat that with gratitude. You're going to eat that with respect for the hands that have made it and how it makes you feel. Take each one of those ingredients of love and kind of just start packing it in your larder, right? Because that will, gosh, I like that feeling. I like the way it makes me feel that way. I'm going to navigate myself down that path. Right. So it is a step by step, isn't it? Sometimes there'll be a leap, but sometimes it's a toe by toe. It all
And
depends.
that's okay.
Yes.
That's the way it is. You and I prepared for this interview.
Hmm.
There were probably 30 or 40 little processes that we had to do in order to make all this happen, from the
Right.
time we made initial contact to everything we've done to get this to the point where it will be final. If you break those down and look at every one of them, and you can be grateful for every little piece,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how much you were given to get to this point. And all most of us think about is, okay, this email and that one came, we're doing it this time, get Zoom up, okay, here we are, and we're done. But there was a tremendous amount of things that went into that. All of those were little processes. When you learn to accept all the little ones, to appreciate them, feel humble, feel grateful for those things, life is completely different.
I've been doing this 9 years now. And, when I was first asked to be on a podcast network with someone else, it was like, what's a podcast? And
Mm-hmm.
the first show was live and I pressed all the wrong buttons. And it's like, do you want to continue with this? Yes, I'm going to continue. And then, a year later, I started my own. So in June, it's 8 years with my own network. We have 2,700 shows here collectively. And, it's through the process I've refined. And as you said, all the preparation and going to do the show, if you have the foundation there, the structure there, you now can let it go with the flow. You don't start doing things by numbers, right? It is about everything is secure. I can put the sails up and let the wind take us because I know the ship is secure.
Right. And that's a wonderful way to live life,
Yeah.
because there's, to be a secure person and know that I've created this and it can go. But in the meantime, I won't just sit back and relax and let it go. I'm still going to guide it. I'm still,
Yes.
because getting to that point opens up all new doors. And
Yes.
so you always have all these options. And that's what I tell people. Life is about creating options.
Yes.
And if you continue to do that, and doing this type of a program does that, it opens up the world to you. And you think, your focus on this little myopic world you had was so good. When you get to the point that we're at now, this world looks huge and I can take that and that one's
Yeah.
open to me and that one's
Yeah.
open to me and I know what to do with it. That's the
Yes,
other
that's the
part.
point.
I won't let
Big
it
one.
just come in and hurt me. I'll bring it in and I'll know what to do with it and I'll make it feel good and maybe I'll help someone else with because I now have that new thing in my life. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to
You
do.
know, when I realize I do more for others when I'm doing more for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for me to say no, not today. And to do it on a day where my energy is more receptive to go out, because sometimes you just need to take that day for your own energy. This is you recharging your generator. And I've learned to say no a lot more often than I ever used to because I was a people pleaser, doing everything for other people because I felt that was expected of me. And now, no, I do it because I care, because I want to, because I love to. But I do it based on my structure, on my foundation. And that allows me to explore even more, to reach into the veil of possibilities and see what else is out there. Um, we've forgotten how to be explorers. And if we could live in life with just a little bit of wonderment, that excitement of what is today going to bring. And it can start off blur and then something wonderful happens, to take away expectation, right?
And be
Exploration.
willing to create those moments
Yes.
because the other part is we wait for them to come.
Yeah.
It's not like we're this little particle in the whole universe, all of it's going to come to me. I'm
Right.
going to create some things. And you're right, you take a little time for yourself. I weave an hour or so into every day. That's mine.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, out of 24 hours, one of them I take because I know I recharge there.
Yeah.
It's my time or I'm alone doing what I want to do and then the rest of them they can have me the rest of the time and that's fine because I'm happy to give but then you have to take you're right you got to recharge it's like your cell phone it can
Hmm.
serve you all day long and you can but at the end of the day you've got to plug it in
Yes.
that's the way it works
Yeah. And, the old adage, more is less, or less is more.
less is more
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
We realize that we need far less than we thought we did. We realize that we're happy with far less than we thought we did. And we realize we can do so much more with less. So, but you don't just get to that frame of mind until you are willing to live the process, live the journey. And all these wonderful little epiphanies come up as they go, and you get little aha moments, or, that beautiful deep breath. Because most of the time people are like this, clenched,
They
right?
are
And just loosen up, take that breath, and like, oh, that feels great. Aren't the flowers beautiful? Isn't the sky lovely? You know, we start seeing the beauty around us.
yeah you actually took time to notice it you saw
Yes,
it
yes. You can't see it when you're clenched up and in a rush and rushing to a destination.
no
It is take that deep breath. You can travel some of the back roads, not always the highway, and just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process.
absolutely
And by having a structure that allows, because we've got to realize, so, it doesn't matter what we believe in, God, universe, spirit, energy, we are all beautiful spiritual beings with a divine connection in a human body. And that human body needs that structure. It needs that base, that foundation in which to build from, and to know what to do at this level and what to do at that level. And when you do invest in that, you really realize that this ship is sturdy and I can sail anywhere, absolutely anywhere. But you've got to be willing to put the time in. And your book is giving people that process. And they can take their time in doing it, right? It's up to them, but just be willing to be engaged in it.
yeah, I wrote it so that it's gives you a pat on the back constantly, but it's matter of fact to do these things, and you are going to get to the point that all the things we've talked about today are there. They're not out of your reach. You're going to have a lot of fun, which again is what I tell people. Please don't make this a chore. Please don't
Mm.
think you're going to go in there and find all these horrible things about yourself. Because when you get honest and when you unearth all these things, what you're going to find is the beauty, not the
Yes,
horror.
right.
What you're living is the horror,
Yes,
but your mind thinks it's normal. take your time, work all the steps, make this a labor of love, enjoy your life every day, and you get to create the person you want to be. How much better can life get?
Yeah. And you've got, Fix Yourself Handbook. It's not fix yourself because you're broken.
No,
You're living in a broken society.
correct.
So you are discovering the wholeness of you within this broken society. And you're basically telling your society around you that I'm not going to accept
Hmm.
your staticness. So, fix yourself. But I'm not broken. We're all living in a broken society. We're all living by these broken, that just simply dysfunctional, totally dysfunctional lifestyles because we've been conditioned that we need to do so. Inside of you is a beautiful divine human being that is a pot of gold ready to pour out. And when you do that, you fix what's around you because you have allowed yourself to come out. So, but we need the process. I get it all the time. Yes, I hear you, Sarah, but the how? And the how is one foot in front of the other with a sturdy process. You're not giving people um, the play by play of what they do with life. You're giving people the skills and tools to put in their backpack while they walk life.
That's right. And that's what, again, I've always heard, okay, but how?
Yeah.
And, I thought, well, this is what I do in counseling. We talk about
Yes.
how, but why aren't books written that way?
Hmm.
So I decided to make this look like a counseling experience. Here are all the things you have to do at the end of every single chapter. I say, do this. If you do this and you stick with it, because you're changing the way your brain works,
Hmm.
and the brain, learning is commitment over time. That's really all it is.
Yes.
That's all it is. If you commit to the same thing over and over again, your brain adapts to it.
You change the
And
pattern.
yes, the proof of that is you became dysfunctional because you kept doing all that. So your brain learned
Yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah.
you already proved that you can do it. Now you're just going to switch it over to positive energy and train your brain and give it commitment over time. And all these things will happen.
Yeah.
And here are all the steps to do that. So if you want to do that, you want to make this the way you live your life, it's there. If you want to continue to go for quick fixes, enjoy, but it never stops.
Somewhere along the line, that cosmic 2x4 is going to come along and flatten you and go, okay, have you got the
Exactly.
message yet? You want to avoid that if you can.
Exactly.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's all about every single one of us are just a beautiful gift to the planet. And it's all a question of when do we allow ourselves to be? When do we allow the investment in ourselves? Financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and that the answer lies within us. You want peace out in the world, be the peace in yourself. You will
Exactly.
bring the peace out there. You want abundance, be the abundance, because now your cup will run over. You want love in the world, be the love. And in that exusion of love, you will light other people up. We have been the problem. Now let us be the solution unto ourselves, because now we will be a solution unto society.
Absolutely.
How do people get the book?
Two ways. You can go to the usual Amazon, Barnes and Noble, those folks. There is also my website, FAUST.RUGGIERO.com. I dedicated that solely to the book. So they'll find chapter outlines, excerpts from the book, be able to look at that and say, is this for me? I really just get a good fix on that. FAUST.RUGGIERO.com. You can buy the book from there. That the links are on the page also.
Would you please spell that for people who are listening?
Yes, my first name is Faust, Faust. Last name Ruggiero, RUGGIERO.com. All Faust Ruggiero, lowercase, all one word.
Wonderful. You may actually know somebody who's in that transition, and it's like, well, how can I help them? Instead of some other senseless gift, give them something and say, look, this has helped me. Take a read at your own time, because all you can do is invite, you can't force.
That's right.
Right? You can be the inspiration that begets the invitation, but you cannot force people. You can entice them by, the waters are wonderful, come on in. But there is no them jumping in, immersing themselves and, I'm here. They've got to understand it's a journey that they really need to participate in, dedicate themselves to, if they really want to see that positive outcome.
Absolutely. And if people are willing to make a loving commitment to themselves, that will happen.
Yeah. Yes, it will. And you know what? We need you to. because this dysfunction in society needs to change, and it's going to only change by your signature, by yourself, true self coming out and showing society functions so much better on this level than it does on that. And so be a part of the change that we need, the growing up in your vibration, because we are the solution that we're seeking. So thanks so much for writing the book and coming and sharing today.
It has been my pleasure.
Until next time, folks, remember, you are the answer unto yourself. Do not be afraid to take the journey. Yeah, sometimes it can feel like a roller coaster, but then you get out there and you go, wee, this is fun. I'm loving it. So don't be afraid. Just participate. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.